As you all may know, long gone are the days where you needed a front-end and a back-end dev. Now all you need is a NextJS developer. The popularity of NextJS is undoubtedly at an all-time high. Developers are ditching Vite and Angular just to jump on the Vercel bandwagon, and I don't really blame them one bit. Solo developers, or as they like to call themselves, solopreneurs, are making more money than your average Dota 2 TI winner by shipping apps that take less than a week to make. And it's all thanks to a combination of NextJS with a few other technologies sprinkled in. I'll tell you what those are in just a minute. First, let's talk about what a solo entrepreneur is and what makes them different from traditional entrepreneurs. Much unlike your average VC startup that takes 14 months just to release a to-do list app, solo entrepreneurs aim to release apps within 1 to 2 months, sometimes even within weeks. These apps are MVPs or minimum viable products, and solopreneurs use them to test the market. Think of them like every single Scott Catham game, most notably Fart Hotel, until he hit it big with Five Nights at Freddy's. While a VC might hire a team of devs and marketers, solopreneurs, as the name implies, do everything on their own, releasing their apps on websites like Hacker News, creating devlogs on YouTube, and posting high-quality Twitter threads, all in an effort to get as many eyeballs as possible on their MVP. Now, remember that a solopreneur's overhead is extremely low, some living on as little as $1,000 a month. So where a VC might need 50,000 MRR or monthly reoccurring revenue just to break even and pay the rent on their 120 square foot Silicon Valley office, a solopreneur only needs 1K MRR to keep the lights on in his villa in Bali. At the end of the day though, both are competing in the same market, and while a solopreneur may have the advantage in terms of costs, the VC has the manpower, and that's where the efficiency in using NextJS levels the playing field. You see, NextJS is a React framework that makes me feel like a god every time I type in npm run dev. Frontend, backend, mid-end, you can make your entire application using NextJS. Server-side rendering, static site generation, and easy integration with APIs. The product does not compare to anything else on the market. NextJS, or more accurately, Vercel, has essentially become the Heisenberg of the coding world. And let's not forget that at the end of the day, a VC has one goal in mind, and that's to be acquired by a bigger company. As a result, entrepreneurs of the past focus on integrating the latest and most cutting-edge tech into their to-do list app for absolutely no reason other than to say that they did it. In other words, they increase complexity for the sake of a higher payout at the cost of the end user. As a result, you end up with a basic to-do list app that requires a tech stack featuring a React Native frontend, Node.js with Express for backend APIs, a Postgres SQL database hosted on AWS, GraphQL for data querying, all integrated with OpenAI's GPT for natural language execution, TensorFlow for task prioritizations, and all deployed on AWS Lambda and managed via GitHub Actions. Loads of unnecessary complexity for the sake of making it look good on paper. A solopreneur could have made the same app with Next.js and a Mongo database, and actually maybe even be profitable. For instance, let's take a look at Mark Lau. If you haven't already seen his video, I made these 23 websites and earned $500,000. I will leave it linked in the description below. Just be warned, it might inspire you to quit your job, move to Bali, and become a solopreneur. Mark Lau uses Next.js to build and ship a new app every few weeks. And over the past 2 years, he has created over 24 apps. Just for reference, in the same time frame, your average VC would still be in the process of QA testing their unicorn to-do list app. Out of all these apps, the majority made no money. A few kept his head above the water, and one skyrocketed him into financial freedom. The message is clear: keep your expenses low, build fast, and ship fast until something hits. And that's exactly what Next.js is built for. You may not get the prettiest and most efficient app, but it'll work well enough to test in the market. And if other people deem your app useful, you can always spend more time scaling it later. Unlike Mark Lau, entrepreneurs of the past scaled before verifying that their product was useful, as a result losing more money than Activision with the Call of Duty franchise. Maybe you could have been more successful if you had included a battle pass for your to-do list app, but I digress. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, Next.js is not the only framework that solopreneurs like Mark Lau are taking advantage of. Simple payment APIs like Stripe is another. Instead of taking months to build your own payment processor, solopreneurs are connecting to the Stripe API and getting it done in days, if not hours. Sure, you may have to pay a small fee to Stripe for every transaction, but when it saves you years worth of work, losing a few pennies is worth it. Alongside Stripe, solopreneurs are using Vercel to deploy and manage their many apps. And you might be wondering why. Well, Vercel abstracts away much of the complexity involved in deployment. You don't need to worry about configuring servers, managing infrastructure, or dealing with complex setups. Essentially, it's a plug and play deployment infrastructure. Setting up custom domains is easy and you get automatic SSL certificates. Solopreneurs will pair NextJS and Vercel with a simple database like MongoDB or Firebase, using NextAuth to authenticate users. With that tech stack, solopreneurs can build pretty much anything and build it fast. And that's exactly what Mark Lau is doing. No more corporate 9-to-5s, no more deadlines, no more managers. Just you, a laptop, a framework, and a whole ocean of creativity to explore. Now, I'm not saying you should quit your 9-to-5. I, for one, still have to clock in every day, but at least I'm trying to become more than a corporate drone. And that's what solopreneurship offers us, a way out of the rat race. I hope that you take the time to watch Mark Lau's video, and I hope that it inspires you to take action. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.